Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we are tackling Black. Black is an airship commander that is an A commander when you release him, and he is acquired through the A packs, the actual items that open up an A commander, and possibly through the warp gate. However, I've released 10 over 100 times in the last few months, and I have never released him through the warp gate, so you have a better chance of getting him through the A items. Okay, so Black is the answer to like a mix between Rogers and Golem, without the offensive glass cannon build of Golem and the defensive style of Rogers, but with the option to do a little more damage, or kinda. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's start with this flavor text. Black is the guardian of the Oracle tribe. Now he has the task of protecting Elf, who he loves like a granddaughter. He often told Elf of his interstellar travels when he was younger. So he's Elf's mentor. We have not met Elf yet. She hasn't been released at the time of this video. Okay, so his first skill is a 20%, and it says that it increases our defense and accuracy by 15%. It doesn't say the skill stacks if multiple troops trigger it, and I believe that it does not stack based on a replay I have. So if it triggers once, it stays until the troop activates again, but it does not stack like Blader and King's abilities. The defense is going to be useful for our second ability here, because it says on a 20% chance, our attack is increased by 20% of our current defense. And I am confident that items do affect your defense stat for this skill. If you've been watching my other videos, you know that sometimes gear does not affect skills. Sometimes it's just the raw stats of the troop. But for Black, it is beneficial to stack defense like crazy. So, for the sake of testing, I ran him in Golem gear, full damage, and then I ran him in pure defense gear. I don't actually use this gear for any one commander, that's why you'll see the gems are messed up, but you'll see here, these are all defense, right? So I have an almost perfect Thalamus 5 with 104 defense, Barrier with 52, Barrier with 52, and 120 on my Creator. There's a 1 on the gem there, 30% on the gem, or 27, and then another 92 on Fabrication. So he's stacked full of defense. And I'm going to jump right into the replays here and show you what we found. So what's really good about having really high defense is if you've ever attacked into a Rogers that hasn't started triggering his defensive stacks yet, you'll see that even though you're hitting him really hard, he just doesn't take any damage. Now granted, in return he doesn't do any damage, but Black's skill, the best offense, I'll revisit that one more time just to clarify going in. It says a 40% chance to trigger until the next action, which basically says this turn, we're going to hit that troop slot one time. Instead of a basic attack, it's just this ability, and it's going to do its basic damage, and then it's going to increase the total amount of all of his defense by 20% at level 20. So let's see what that looks like. In order to get a baseline of that skill, I wanted to run Golem so people could compare. Now my Golem is running the pure damage gear, so what you see what normally Golem would do at a high level with high level troops against a 13 monster, same hull, Apocalypse 20. So for the sake of just people looking at this, very closely, here's what Golem does. In our first strike, Golem does a crush, which is his power ability, and it goes, 5 million. Yeah, that's 5 million on Golem's first attack. And then his second one, I think we get a raw hit. Yeah, just a basic hit. And that's 2.8 million. So Golem's crush ability took his hit to 5 million, but when he regularly hit the troops, it was 2.8 million. And I believe that's, what is that, an 80% increase in damage? Which is, no, 60% increase, which is pretty substantial. His skill at that level is only a 30% increased damage for crit, but he actually ends up doing 60% more based on how the math is done. So that's pretty good. That hits really hard. All right, and then in our first Black replay, we're going to use Black with the same gear we just had Golem in. Exact same gear, exact same monster. And he's going to go right into those troops. Here's our regular hit. And that is 2.8 million, which is the same as Golem because he's wearing the same gear and no skills triggered. And I think we get it on this one. We're looking for the best offense. There it is. Okay, the best offense. This one adds up all the defense. He does have some defense items on that. And it goes up to 4 million. So the base damage was the same as Golem, but when Golem's Crush triggered, it hit for 5 million. When Black's the best offense triggered, it only hit for, what was it, 4 million. So a million less, which is pretty substantial, 25% less damage. And percentage-wise, that's somewhere along the lines of a 30% increase, where Golem got a 60% increase. So at the same exact level and the same exact gear, that skill hit for half as much. Now, because that means that you don't want to build, that basically means that if you're going to build Black with defense or offensive gear, you may as well just use Golem. Golem hits harder, right? So that's the baseline for saying, like, okay, maybe you could balance in a little more defensive gear and get a little more out of it, but the bottom line is Golem's going to hit harder as an offensive commander with the same gear. So that means let's play Black as a defensive commander. So in our first test, we're running his skill at level 15. By the end of the test, we increase it to 20 to show what the damage scale looks like if you took this same exact gear and setup and scaled it up to 60. You can do the math on Excel. Here is the level 13 monster in all defense gear with the same haul and loadout. Baseline hit is only 398,000. That's not million. That's 398,000. So 400,000. And of course, we never see how much the defense is actually mitigating because he never gets hit, but you'll have to figure that out on your own. So here's the best offense. Here's the damage with all the defense gear. It goes up. So it went to 791,000. So in just defense gear, he hit for 400k. When his skill triggered, he did almost double damage at level 15. Okay. Level 15 skill doubled the damage of his base. Right, okay. So that's a lot more than Golem skill, but remember, you have to use defense items which don't hit as hard. All right, so in the next test, I raised up his abilities to level 20, and I ran the numbers again. So we'll go ahead and play this one first. This is in the damage gear, this is in the Golem gear, and this is when his skills are at level 20. So here's our base hit, should be 2.8 million, all right, close enough, 2.76. It does vary a little bit. There's a little bit of a dice roll there. And once again, it's going to hit for base damage, 2.8 million, 2.9, so a little higher, somewhere around 2.8 million. And then on this third one, we got a battle season trigger, so it actually increases his defense a little bit there, about 15% was it? And then he gets the trigger. So 4.4 million. So he went from 4 million, and then this time he triggered his first and second ability to 4.4 million. So by going up 5 levels, his damage went up 10%. But you got to remember, he actually got the 20% skill trigger on that. So it wasn't a full 10%. For every 5% he went up, we'll just assume his damage went up around 5 to 8%. So if you scaled from 15 to 20 at 5 to 8%, you can just multiply that all the way up to level 60, which if you get 5 to 10% every 5 levels, then what does that give you? 7 more times, 35% more damage, something like that. And it scales a little differently, but that's a pretty safe assumption. 30 to 40% more damage on that skill. So instead of hitting for 4 million, maybe I could have hit for like, 6 or 7 million if it was level 60. So that's what I'm trying to show you. Without being a level 60 Black and not having super high level Black replays, that's what you can kind of expect, or base these numbers off of yours if you're doing the research. And then in this one, I put all of his defense gear back on, and I wanted to see what his level 20, here it is, first shot, best offense, full defense gear at level 20. It went to 948. So that's a pretty pure analysis. The first time his level 15 skill trigger, it was 800,000, and then this time 900 something thousand. So it did go up about 10 to 15%. We should actually run that one more time, because is that right? For some reason that doesn't feel right. Maybe it was just a higher than average, maybe just a little bit lucky of a crit. Best offense. 948? 948. So yeah, the previous one was 791. So that went up a total of 150,000. 150,000 increase over 800k is actually pretty, that's almost 15%. So we got quite a bit out of that, which makes sense, right? Oh, the other analysis we were doing was within damage gear. We didn't have defense gear on. We added defense gear on. 5% increase to skill gave 15% more damage. Is that right? Alright, we're going to try that one more time. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's right. So we went from 800k to 948. So when you divide those two, that is a 15% increase, 16% increase. So every time you go up 5%, you can expect a 16% increase in damage. That's pretty good. That is pretty darn good. But ultimately, it doesn't hit very hard, right? Like, with pure defense gear on, he's going to live a lot longer. He's going to go a lot more rounds. And I guess when it comes down to, like, where does Black fit into the meta? Well, he's really strong, right? Like, he doesn't have a healing ability. He does have those defense abilities. He's a super turtle, and he's got a good, offense when he gets his 40% skill. But in the current meta, I still prefer... I want to say I prefer Golem over him, just because Golem has that the potential for the awakening damage as well. Because Black's skill doesn't affect his awakening, he doesn't get the bonus off of that. And even though his troops are going to survive longer, in the current meta, it's still a lot about one-shotting and trading. Golem is going to have more utility and as a one-slot buster, and Rogers is going to have more utility as a monster killer as well as a base defender, and because he can go immune, he mitigates more. So who does Black really shine against? Well, I don't know. No one really. He doesn't do better against anyone compared to Rogers. So because of that, I kind of put him down in the B class of heroes. He's just like under an A class. He's kind of fun because you can build him pure defense, but he doesn't really hit hard enough to rip somebody apart in a face-to-face 6-on-6 fight. He doesn't have the one-striking potential of Golem. He doesn't have the defense of Rogers. So he's a neat hero, but because he's so defense-dependent, he's just going to lose slower to better commanders with the same equipment. So not a great hero. Super cool looking. Hard to get, but unfortunately he fails to really fulfill hopes and expectations as the next big thing. So that's our video. If you disagree, or you have a really cool Black replay you want to show me, or maybe point something out I missed, go in the comments below and tell me what I missed. Say hello, introduce yourself, from what server you're on. We're a tight little small community, so if you comment, I'll probably reply, or at least someone else will, and they'll interact with you. But we got a little game here, and the more people you meet, the more you talk about, the funner it is. So thanks for watching the video. Share it, like it, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.